The Northport VA Medical Center is proud to contribute to the Veterans History Project, an effort of the American Folklife Center of the Library of Congress. Vivid as if they happened yesterday, the following accounts will make you laugh, cry, and remember. The stories are not a formal history of war, but a treasure trove of individual feeling and personal recollections. Through stories, we can form a personal connection with the storyteller and begin to truly know and understand the veteran's experience.
Mr. Joe Abbondondelo,
All right.
who is an American ex-prisoner of war. This tape is being made for the Library of Congress's Veterans Oral History Project, the Northport VA, and Mr. Abbondondelo. And we'll begin by talking about, before your World War II veteran, what were you doing up until the time you entered active duty?
I was in high school. I graduated in June of 42, and at that time I was home for the summer. I caddied and more or less doing odd jobs.
Where are you
like
from?
That. Roslyn Heights.
Oh,
Where I
Roslyn
was
Heights.
born and raised.
I used to live a
so
little
I graduated from
time on Round Hill Road. I lived.
Oh yeah, sure.
In Roslyn Heights.
Oh well.
Yes. So you were caddying in the summer, and
during the summer I was caddying. I had received a notice, from the draft board at the time, and they gave us the option of, enlisting or waiting to be drafted. So I enlisted in the fall, around October 1942, into the Air Force.
And where did you go?
And then from there we went to Camp Upton, in Yaphank, and the reception center, and then from there to basic training. Actually, I went to basic training in Atlantic City. And then from there we went technical training school to learn the systems of all the different aircraft. That was in Seymour Johnson Field, North Carolina. I was there a few months, and then from there we went down to Fort Myers in Florida for gunnery school.
And
then from there I went to Davis Mountain Field in Tucson, Arizona, where I was starting to get together with some of the other crews, and to get together with the crew, whatever crew you would be flying with or training with. Overseas training. From there we took in Langley Field, Virginia. Now we were there about I'd say we were there almost 4 months at Langley Field. Mostly we were flying on the B-24 Liberator.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at the time that you joined the Air Force, and you had been obviously did a lot of training, a lot of preparation. How long was that training? If you were to say in a period of months, how many months did it take for you to complete
altogether?
all that training?
It was about a year before we went overseas. We went overseas in December 1943.
And when you were assigned a team to fly with, were any of those folks from Long Island?
No.
No, they're from all over the country?
It was pretty well, yes, from different parts of the country. And actually, when we arrived by way of South America and North Africa to our base in southern Italy, that was the 15th Air Force, and I was assigned to a group at that time was known as the 455th Bomb Group. And
what was your exact role on the plane? What did you do?
Well, finally, I actually trained as a flight engineer and gunner. I flew different positions. Sometimes they kind of rotated you once in a while. Sometimes in the waist, sometimes in the nose, or even the tail gunner or top turret, whatever the situation was.
Right.
Basically, we stayed with our original crew. We had some replacements because they would take, for instance, a co-pilot after he had enough experience and they felt he was qualified, then went on to be first pilot and then got assigned to another Liberator. In the meantime, you get a replacement in to replace him as a co-pilot, whatever the case was. But overall, we were with most of our original crew. And
So how many? So you're over in Italy, and how often would you go out on a mission?
about every other day on the average. If you went on a mission one day, you didn't fly the next day.
Okay.
And maybe the day after, depending on weather and other factors.
And where were you flying on these missions? What were you doing?
Well,
Yeah.
we were flying. Well, we were bombing targets in the Balkans, Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, Austria, Germany.
Do you have any
And
close
in
calls
Italy,
on
we had
those
yes,
bombings?
yes.
Yeah.
Well, one of the most difficult targets was the oil refineries in Romania. It was a long flight, for one thing, and there was the anti-aircraft and fighter planes, because at that time Germany was getting at least good 80% of their oil from Romania, and so they was heavily defended. The anti-aircraft, you always had some damage from the planes.
Right.
Flak holes or what have you.
Did we ever hit, but you didn't go down? I mean,
well, on my last mission, that was my 41st mission. We were bombing factories up around the Vienna, Austria area, and then we were attacked by German Messerschmitt the 210. Which was a twin-engine fighter plane, and then there was the Messerschmitt fighter plane 109s and the Focke-Wulf 190s. The Focke-Wulf 190s are the ones that shot us down, and we went over with about usually there were seven bombers to a squadron, and might have varied a few planes on one or the other. Now, out of 7 planes in the squadron, they shot down 6 of our planes.
Wow. And you were among the 6? Your
yes.
plane was. Where were you flying at that time? I'm sorry.
At that time, we were bombing factories around the Vienna, Austria area.
Okay. So how did you go down? Did you?
Well, our plane was hit with Focke-Wulf 20 millimeters. I was hit in the head and my arm for one thing, and then the planes. The engines. There was a couple engines that were on fire for one thing. Then we had the choice. We had a parachute. We
parachuted out.
Yes.
And where did you parachuted into? Where?
I don't know exactly. Somewhere around that area, out of Vienna.
Vienna. Okay.
Because when I got to the ground, when I couldn't use my left arm too well, I had a lot of difficulty to getting the parachute off, for one thing.
Okay.
And the German guy, the German soldier walked up to me. I'm trying to get on my feet. And he looked at me, turned around, and started walking away. And here I have, in my sidearms, I had a .45 automatic, which we all carried.
Right.
It's surprised he didn't search me to take that away.
Right.
So when he did stop, he looked at me again, and then he took my cigarettes. I always make sure, like George was telling us before, about the chocolate bars and the cigarettes. They went a long ways. And but he left. He didn't touch my gun. He must have been trusting. I don't know why. But anyway, after that, a lot I can remember. I was really in a very dazed condition. I did visit a hospital in Vienna I must have been in there going on 2 weeks, because with my head injury, I had a lot of difficulty getting up and around, staying on my feet, one thing and the other.
Right.
And that was we had to deal with our own bombers during the day and the British bombing at night.
So you were in a German. You were obviously.
They did put me in the hospital for a while because I couldn't walk for a while. I mean, my head was so.
Maybe they didn't just let you die, right?
I don't know. It's hard to say. Some of them did, and for some reason. Then from there, as soon as I could get on my feet, they got me out of there.
Do you remember being in the hospital?
Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes the first few days I didn't remember anything. But you start coming out of it. The next thing you know, you're slipping away, like you fall asleep.
Right. From medication and.
Then when I started to come out, I had a lot of pain in my arm, a gangrene in my arm. I don't know. I thought I was going to lose my arm for a while there.
Right.
Were there the only thing they put on there, the Germans, the only thing they had, and they didn't have penicillin. Penicillin was just the powder they come out. The sulfur powder, they sprinkle those sulfur powder. Finally, when I did leave there, we went to some area not too far from Frankfurt for interrogation or one thing or another. And then from there, by way of cattle car, they transported us up to northern Poland, not far from the Baltic Sea. Town called, the Germans called it Stettin, but it belonged to Poland. Poland called it Szczecin. And I was there from, of course I was shot down after D-Day in 1944. I was there till February 1945. The Russian had a major winter offensive going on there, and the Germans evacuated that prison camp where we were. And this, I don't have to go into too much detail. I think George pretty well covered it as far as the diet was.
Well,
the black bread.
This will be your video.
The soup, the watered down soup. Sometimes you got coffee, whatever they made the coffee out of. It was all. I mean, you know, you're always tired and hungry.
Yeah.
And,
now, can I ask you, were there any of the men that you were in the plane with that went down, or any of you reunited at the camp or along the way, in the hospital? Or did you lose touch completely with that group? No,
I was in touch with them. They're all dead on my crew. They're all gone now. I was one of the youngest.
But while you were over there in Europe, were you aware if they had survived or if they died, or?
Well, they had different compounds.
Okay.
Most of them, of course, we were non-commissioned officers, and the officers went further north to a camp called Barth. So there were usually 4 commissioned officers that was assigned to a bomber. They ended up in Barth. I saw them after the war, some of them, and those are the other crew, the gunners and the other non-commissioned officers. They were in the other compound. I had seen them when I went in and left.
So you were taken to a camp. You're in a camp. How long were you at the camp?
The camp. I got to the camp sometime around the end of July.
Was it all Americans or were there mixed?
No, they were British, but the British they kept in a separate compound. The Americans and non-commissioned officers had their own compound.
What were the conditions like? Were you inside a structure? Were you in a tent? Were you outside? How were the conditions of the camp?
They had barracks.
Okay. And,
yeah. They weren't heated.
Not heated.
They were not heated.
And how were you? Did you have a coat? Did you have?
Well, you had the whatever you were shot down with, that's what you had.
Right.
Yeah, whatever clothes they managed to bring in.
And what did
pretty cold up there.
What did you do while you were in the barracks? Did you play? Were you able to play cards? Were you able to? Did you have any type of communication? Writing letters back home to family, getting letters.
Well, I did write. I did manage to write, but I never received anything from my family. I didn't until I got home. I didn't see or hear from them until we were liberated.
And while you were there, I know you touched on the diet and the soup. There were no treats, at the holidays. How long were you in the camp again? I'm sorry.
Altogether, from the time I was captured, 9 months.
9 months.
Yeah.
So for holidays like Christmas or nothing. There were no special occasions where you were given anything.
They put you in the barracks and left you, and you didn't. There was no guy. If you tried, even if you got out of the barracks for any reason, they had these German Shepherd dogs running around loose there. God help you would never would have survived that with them.
Did anybody try to escape?
Not that I know of. There was no place to go if you got away there. I mean, you were in a very remote area, and then during the winter with the snow up there, we were 30 miles from the Baltic Sea about. And
did you get the sense from any of your captors that they saw you as a human being? Did anyone give you any kind of compassion? Give you a hint that they cared about you?
I don't know.
Anybody?
They pretty well kept to themselves.
Yeah.
The guards used to roam around. They didn't want them associating with They only had the guards making rounds and looking around, making sure you were trying to figure ways to escape, digging tunnels, things like that, basically. And then you didn't know their language.
Did you have to work in the camp?
No.
You just
no. That was contrary to the Geneva Convention rules, making non-commissioned officers or officers work. But they kept you. The idea was that they just wanted to keep you all in a compound, keep you there, rather than knowing that if you returned home, that you would be on a bomber again, and flying missions against them.
Right.
That's all. This was the idea. Just.
So while you're in the camp, you're hanging around. Well, you know, Mr. Thomas was talking about how he used to, imagine all sorts of, dinners and
Oh yeah.
food. Did you do that? Did you share that with each
We
other?
talked about it with some of the other prisoners. Oh yeah, you talked about that. You dream about it.
How did you keep your spirits up?
I don't know.
Did you play sports? Were you allowed to play any type of sports?
Yeah, but that was. I wouldn't do that. You don't want to look and use up any of your energy.
Your energy,
because,
right?
because of the diet.
Right.
And mostly the only thing you did, you could walk around the compound on the inside.
Uh-huh.
That was
What were
about
you
it.
thinking about home? Were you thinking about your family, wondering if they thought you were alive or dead? Would you like some more?
Yeah, I didn't know what to, no thanks. I didn't know what to think at the time because the thing is, I didn't hear from them. Communication was, communications was a different situation then.
Right.
You weren't in contact, with what goes on like you are today,
Right.
And
So tell me about your liberation from the camp. Or were you liberated? What happened with that?
well, right after the New Year's in January 1945, the major Russian offensive going on, I guess, because you could see the Germans were getting nervous, but we didn't have that much information. And finally, one morning they came around, and they told me that they opened the compound, they'll go to the compound and let me out to go with the rest of the unit. We were wounded, so I went out with the wounded. So we walked a while. I don't recall how long. It was quite a while, until they finally got us aboard the cattle cars again. And in the meantime, sometime after that, they evacuated the camp, and the others, the Germans, marched them towards the west, hopefully to come in contact with the American or British. But they didn't want to stay behind if the Russians liberated the camp. I don't think I have to tell you what went on after that. But anyway, we had gone clear across Germany into Switzerland. It took weeks on end. And as George was also saying before, we were being bombed and strafed by our own planes. They were concerned that it could have been German trains carrying munitions and men. And finally we got into Switzerland. And we got off the train. The guards were waving goodbye to us, and then they pointed into Switzerland. We went to Switzerland, and that's when I got out. That's when I got liberated.
Now, when you were in the camp, had you lost a significant amount of weight?
Oh yeah.
How much weight had you lost?
I don't know. I would say we pretty well got down. I'd say we got down about 100 pounds. I would say easy.
All right, and you surviving on a diet of bread.
Oh yeah,
and little
black
else.
bread. Yeah, and that bread had the black bread with the sawdust in it.
Yeah, I heard about the sawdust.
And so sometimes you got the watered down soup. We call it dishwater. Yeah. And the ersatz is what they call the ersatz coffee. I don't know how they made it. It was just a substitute for coffee. I think it was mostly water. Well, anyway.
So you got to Switzerland. Were you in some sort of a holding?
No, they got us on the train there. The Swiss were there. I think they must have known we were coming there, and that they were letting some of the wounded prisoners in. And then we got on a train. We went across Switzerland down into France, into Marseille. And then we got on the ship in Marseille, and that's how I got back home.
Tell me about home. What happened when you got home? Family was glad to see you.
Oh my God, yes. I hadn't heard from them. They said they got my letters, but I didn't receive anything from home. Oh yeah, and then I was home. They gave us an automatic 30-day leave.
What did you do?
Well, from there, well, catching up, visiting family, because I had a lot of family in the Roslyn area, Roslyn, Glen Cove. And after the 30 days, I went back to was Valley Forge General Hospital in Pennsylvania, and I was there from February till December of '45 because I had a lot of surgery done. for one thing, and you know, that day, in those days when you had surgery done in those days, it was longer recuperation. And that's when you usually send you home on another 30-day leave. Then you went back to the hospital and whatever else had to be done. Because my teeth went better, I had to have all dental work done, which I'm getting done now, as a matter of fact.
So when you got home, were you able to get in touch with any of the folks that you'd been in the military with?
Oh yeah.
Tell me about some of those. Did you keep a relationship with him?
Yes, for quite a while. As a matter of fact, I have one in particular. I'm still in touch with his wife.
Oh yeah, who's that?
He died. He died some 30 years ago. He was name was Harry Seiler. He was from upstate in the Schenectady area. So as a matter of fact, I had visited with him after the war, and then I kept in touch.
What did you think when you were in the camp? And I'm sorry to go back, but I'm just wondering. You know, you're in the camp for 9 months. Did you ever think you'd get home?
I don't know. Sometimes you had doubts. You always held out some hopes, I guess. But the conditions being what they were, you know, sometimes you had to wonder if you could survive. I mean, it's a different. You know, it's one thing in combat. It's bad enough. But then again, you have to, you know, with the elements, the diet, the condition itself. It's
miserable.
It was bad, but just plain miserable.
Did any of the folks that you were housed with, did they die while you were interned? You were held captive?
So yeah, some of them. I mean, between I don't know whether it's the weather, the cold, or what.
Right.
Because. And then, you know, when they marched them out of there too, they went marched for months and then the war, and then the camp was evacuated in February 1945, and the war, and it didn't end until May. You're talking about, what, 3 months?
Were you allowed to have religious services while you were in camp? Did they have chaplains or?
Yeah. Yeah, they had one that was captured. I don't know who he was, whether he was Irish or what. He might have been, and he used to, you know, do whatever he can with what little he had too.
Right, conduct services for
make
everybody.
the rounds and.
So you got home. You went to the military hospital. Then you got discharged from there. What did you do next? Did you go to school? Did you go to work? What did you do?
Well, the first year practically nothing.
You're recovering from
it's
your experience.
I had appointments at that time. We had to go downtown New York to the VA, either the VA hospital or the clinic.
Right.
And then early in 1947, they started the building on the 11 homes. So my father was in building construction. So I worked with him a while. I didn't really have to do much, so he made sure I didn't. And then mostly, I worked about 35 years with the bank on the island here.
Oh, okay.
I retired from Bank of New York after 3 mergers, I should say. And
here you are. When I don't even know what. Sometimes when I conduct these interviews, I really don't know what to say because I just can't begin to imagine what you've been through, except to say that I really appreciate what you did for not only America by serving during the war, but for the world. What all of you collectively did to take out the Nazis.
Yeah.
So I thank you. Is there any one particular experience from all of your experiences in the military, from either your POW, your training experience, any one particular experience that stands out among all the others that you think of more often than anything else?
Well, about experience, I guess after all these years, after that, I mean, you can't carry a grudge after all these years. And besides, my daughter-in-law's from Germany. I've made 2 trips back there. She had her father was on the Russian front fighting for Hitler. Her uncle. I mean, and I get to visit with those people.
So you forgave.
That's what, I mean, you talk to her, you talk to her uncle and her father. Look, I have very good friends I lost over there too. Her uncle was captured, and matter of fact, in Belgium, by the Americans, and it's the thinking is that
You moved on from.
yeah,
from
you know, they were caught up with it just like we were. I mean, you had no choice.
Right,
The only difference is that, well, they started.
right.
But
Well,
unfortunately,
I want to thank you, Mr. Abbondondelo,
Yeah.
for coming and doing the interview. Again, thanks for everything. Thanks for serving your country and making the world a much better place. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, especially at that time, it had to. I mean, the mixed opinions today. You had, you know, getting to the Vietnam and now the Iraq, but at that time there was no choice. It was just, it goes on to say, well, it was them or us.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Joe, good to see you again.
Thank you.